And I think, okay, there we go. I got the message. So we're in good shape. Okay, once again, thank you guys for being here. Really overwhelmed by the turnout and think it's fantastic. And thank you all. Once again, I am Mike Herb. And have a good, happy afternoon or morning, depending on where you're coming from. And this is the I am an Aruba E-rate discussion. And basically what I'm going to do is start things off with just explaining what resources Ingram has available to assist you with E-rate opportunities. Okay. Let's see if I can move my screen here. All right. On here, guys. Okay, there we go. Thank you. All right, this is the Ingram Micro Aruba team, and right up at the top is Kelly Murphy, our Senior Vendor Business Manager, who is oversight of all things for Aruba in regards to IM, Ingram Micro. You've got her contact information there. She's responsible for stocking and availability of all our products, and Ingram takes a great deal of pride in stocking more Aruba than any other distributor. She's also responsible for allocation of funding and marketing programs and has oversight over all aspects of the Aruba business. Directly next to Kelly is Danielle Williams, and Danielle, myself, Mike Herb, and Alex Logel all have the same role. We are solution sales specialists working under Kelly, and basically our job is to leverage all the programs and all the things that Aruba makes available, which are quite numerous, to help create opportunities, get opportunities in the pipeline, and help them close once they're in. You can feel free to reach out to any of us at any time directly. Or you could go through, if you look underneath Alex's picture there, there is mailboxes directly for Aruba. At Ingram Micro, it's HPE Aruba at ingrammicro.com. All inquiries can go directly to there. If there's specific inquiries that have a federal end user, all right, and Ingram just got permission in 2020, which we're very excited about, to do federal business, and we're building that. And as I said, we're very excited about that. If it's a federal end user you're dealing with, you can go to ArubaFed at ingrammicro.com. Anything related to Aruba's new product line, which we're very excited about as well, which is Aruba Instant On. You can go to Aruba Switch to On at ingrammicro.com. When in doubt, you can always use HPE Aruba at ingrammicro.com because that's the box from which we all work out of. Underneath that in mailboxes, we've got an Aruba Tech line, which will take you to our tech support team, our best in class tech support team. And there's a direct line and direct extension to them. If you have questions about BOM, or you want to build a BOM, you have specific technical questions, they are an excellent resource for you. Another excellent resource for you who came up through the Aruba Tech line is our technical account manager, Josh Fox. And you've got his contact information there. Josh is another excellent resource for us and is extremely excited about all things Aruba. He gives monthly webinars on networking topics and about Aruba products, and can assist in so many ways in regards to conference calls with end users or with resellers regarding to help you understand the technology and help you utilize it. Just as a bit of a plug here, I've got our Aruba 550 series wireless access points and our CX 630 and CX 640 switches. These are state-of-the-art networking equipment, and Josh's expertise on that would help you understand them in a great level of detail, and we're very excited to sell them. Okay, next slide. Okay. In addition to the Aruba team, we have Ingram Micro's public sector team, which is a core sales team that's devoted entirely to public sector sales. We have over 70 dedicated associates on this IM public sector team. It includes sales and support teams, and one of these sales and support people over to our right here is our own Jessica Banaszak, who is not only a member of the sales and support team, but is also what we refer to as an Aruba beacon, in that it is her job to bring the message of Aruba and E-rate opportunities to her sales teams in the public sector. So she is a liaison between Aruba and the public sector team, and has cross-pollinated, has been cross-pollinated with information about both. And as an example of one of the things that we're doing at Ingram to try to synergize, so we're all on the same page, and a special resource for E-rate in particular. So she's part of the sales and support team. We do have a public sector field team. If you needed somebody to come out and visit and talk about all things Ingram Micro has to offer, as well as Aruba and E-rate opportunities. We have a contract management team. We have marketing resources, and we also have several public sector program experts that we can talk about, and talk about things that are available to you. I got a picture of a public high school specifically for E-rate. Now keep in mind that E-rate is for public and private high schools, or public and private K through 12 schools, as long as they are not-for-profit schools. So almost everybody really can be included in that. And I've got a picture of a library over here as well, because libraries are also a part of E-rate. Is once again, as long as they are not for profit. I don't think I've ever ran into a for-profit library. I think they call those bookstores. But anyway, just to give you an overview of what we're talking about in regards to E-rate. Okay, next slide. Okay, in addition to the Aruba team, and in addition to the Ingram Micro Public Sector team, the Ingram Micro Financial Solutions team is very interested in E-rate and offering opportunities, flexible opportunities for E-rate solutions. We know that E-rate opportunities prevent specific challenges financially because of the length of time at which it takes for them to take place, and we are prepared to be able to do what we need to do to make it work for you and to help you get to yes and to win. The first tool in the Ingram Micro Financial Solutions toolbox is the Ingram Micro Credit Line. And we do have flexibility in regards to that, and are willing to work with customers in regards to doing what we need to do to make sure that they have what they need to be able to finance the opportunity. Direct Express is an example of sort of flexibility in regards to the Ingram Micro Credit Line. And, it's basically a low-cost lockbox solution that supplements credit lines that are already existing, pre-existing credit lines. One of the things it features is a 30-day interest-free, no payment plan. Okay. Second, underneath Direct Express is the financial markets solution. And basically what you're using with financial markets is using all the connectivity that Ingram Micro has with financial markets around the country and around the world. For E-rate opportunities, you could get lines of credit, you can get business loans, you get working capital, and it's all arranged in flexible payments. There has been funding up to $10 million as a result of Ingram Micro using its connectivity financially to go out into financial markets and secure funding so resellers can win deals. Okay, preferred source is as it sounds, whether it's the Ingram Micro preferred source choice of credit, or whether it is something that we have to work through based on the reseller, because the reseller may have a special connection with a credit source, but we are flexible in regards to that. TAAS, okay, is especially good for MSPs, managed service providers, because it provides a single monthly payment, a flexible single monthly payment, and allows MSPs the ability to be able to finance and gives them some upfront money when they have to finance some tech upfront for some of their resellers, which often happens. And the last one on the list is Ingram Micro Vendor Leasing, special leasing program, which our finance department is very excited about, depending on if that is the right situation for you. And they can go into a great deal of detail about that. Okay, so the main thing to remember about the financial solutions toolbox for Ingram is that we want to get to yes. Okay, and we have a lot of ways to being able to do that. Okay, all right, I have one last slide, and oops, and it is encouraging you to become an IM E-Rate partner. We would love to quote and order and help you win opportunities for E-Rate. One of the things that we promise in regards to E-Rate opportunities is quick turnarounds on quotes and orders. And one of the reasons why we're able to quick turnaround orders very quickly, besides our Aruba and our public sector team, is the amount of time we spend doing stock forecasting and searching our pipeline for incoming orders and getting our warehouse prepped for that. We have an excellent synergy between our warehouse and between our teams. Ingram is really committed to the lean business model, and a huge part of that is forecasting and stocking accordingly, and we take that very seriously, and we do spend a lot of time on that. Express warehousing is an option too, especially with E-Rate, as I said before, because of the time sometimes it takes for the transaction to take place. If you do need to ship something before the receiver is ready to get it, then express warehousing is an excellent solution for you. We can set it up in a warehouse for you for a really nominal fee and hold it there until the school or whoever it is you're shipping it to has the opportunity to be able to put it in. This has happened on more than one occasion, and this is an excellent program that people are very, very happy about. And it just makes everything available at the right time. Okay, I did mention the Aruba and public sector teams and also our tech support and our technical account managers as additional resources for E-Rate. And just to give ourselves a pat on the back, that Aruba, Ingram Micro is the Aruba 2020 Distributor of the Year, and we're extremely proud of that and look forward to continued excellent relationship with Aruba. If you have any questions directly about Ingram Micro and E-Rate, I've got my name on there, Michael Herb at ingrammicro.com. And the little picture that we have on the right is just an idea of the classroom that we're all working towards, where technology, along with people, are fully integrated to create a dynamic educational experience that's second to none. Okay. All right. At this point, I am going to turn it over to the Aruba K through 12 National Channel Manager, Peter Kaplan. And Peter, take it away.
Michael, thank you for inviting me to participate. Yes, I'm the National E-Rate Channel Manager for Aruba, and in essence, my responsibilities are to help our partners with success tied to the E-Rate program and strategy and getting paid quickly, being a resource, provide training, anything tied to E-Rate. I am here to assist our partners and our distributors with the process. What I want to talk to you about today is a little bit about what's on top of mind. E-Rate's it's a funding stream. It's a stable, predictable funding stream, but it is a funding stream. It's important to know what is happening with education. I want to talk a little bit about top of mind. We'll talk a little bit about some short-term possibilities for revenue with additional stimulus that has been passed by Congress. And we'll talk about some additional resources as well. So we've all seen the headlines from this past spring. You probably have sort of seen headlines from how are schools opening in the fall. Many challenges. I actually was very impressed how the K-12 world moved from on-campus learning to distance learning or remote learning this past spring, literally on a dime within weeks. And anyone that's been involved in education or K-12 knows really what a monumental feat that was. But even under the best circumstances, there were a host of challenges. Just as a personal experience, my wife and I both work from home. Each of our kids has a device. We're not essential employees where we have to be somewhere. And even with that, there were a host of challenges associated with helping our students with understanding the assignments and getting them submitted. Sometimes the assignments went to cyberspace somewhere. So even under the best circumstances, digital learning and remote learning was a challenge this fall. The Los Angeles Unified School District, I like to bring them up because they really were very public. And of course, they're one of the largest school districts in the country. And back in March, when the world went sideways and they started working, having their students be remote, they literally talked about 50% of their students did not have devices at home. A quarter of their families did not have enough internet access. Um, there's no way to have a real remote learning experience if those are the challenges. And school districts all over the country, whether it's in an urban setting or rural, experience really very similar issues, right? The digital divide is what everyone kind of knows what that term is. Really, we've been struggling with how to close that digital divide for the last 20 years, and all of a sudden it's now known as the homework gap, right? Students, the education world is being tasked to solve this problem in a very short amount of time. And um, the consortium for school networking, they are an association of school CIOs and technology directors, and every year they release a survey and they talk about cybersecurity as the number one issue and challenge that they have. And this year they released their survey this early this summer, and digital equity really supplanted the cybersecurity as the number one issue. How do we ensure that students have the devices and the families have connectivity in order to even think about having remote learning this fall? So those are really just tremendous challenges that school districts are facing. In terms of E-rate, what happened in 2020? The FCC released new Category 2 regulations, in which we were anticipating that those new regulations would be released sometime in the fall. They were not released until early December. And what 2020 was known as a bridge year to get us to when the new rules will start in FY 2021. But because the rules were released so late in the year, school districts waited until those new rules were released before they started their competitive bidding. So as a result of that, there was a compressed E-rate competitive bidding season. From January, February, March, and even with that, there were more Form 470s that were released in 2020, more Category 2 Form 470s that were released in 2020 than in 2019. And of course, we had partner fatigue. That there's not there's only so many Form 470s that our partners can respond to. And even with all of that, we had tremendous success where we were able to have more revenue in 2020 tied to E-rate than in 2019. And it's really solely due to our partners stepping up and our Aruba E-rate process, which I'm going to talk about. School districts, again, waited until the new Category 2 regulations were released. They started their procurement in January and February, and of course, as the world goes sideways, and IT directors are figuring out how to do the remote learning and finishing up their E-rate their E-rate Form 471. And even with all those challenges, school districts requested more E-rate funds in 2020 than 2019. And the reason why that is the case is because certainly IT directors know that robust networks are completely mission critical, whether or not their students are on campus or at home with the remote or distance learning. So from a very high level for those that have been doing E-rate for a number of years, these are the 6 steps that USAC identifies in terms of the process. And I want to go through them really from a bird's eye view. And if anyone wants me to kind of double click on a particular part of the process, they can send an email to Michael, or they can follow up with me after, and I'm happy to have deeper conversations. Typically in the fall, schools start their E-rate procurement. What that means is that they post a Form 470, which is like an E-rate RFP. They post the Form 470 to USAC's website, the Universal Service Administrative Company. The FCC, or Federal Communications Commission, they run the overall process. They set the overall policies for the E-rate program. Under the FCC is USAC, which is a quasi-federal agency. The SLD, or Schools and Library Division, is the division at USAC that handles the day-to-day operations of the E-rate program. So sometimes you'll hear USAC and SLD used interchangeably. So schools will post these Form 470s to the USAC website in the fall. They have to wait a minimum of 28 days before they can enter into a contract with a service provider. Now, price needs to be weighted the most when schools are evaluating which vendor to go with. So even though the project may not get funded until this time next year, and then you may not get paid for another month or two after that, you will have a contract in place, for the service, in the fall or early winter when schools go through that process. So schools will they'll go through the Form 470 procurement process. They'll set a service provider. They'll enter into a contract. The SLD, they open up an application window, a Form 471 application window. Typically, that's January to the end of March, early April, where schools literally apply. They need $100,000 for the project. This is the vendor I chose, and they describe that project on the Form 471. They identify what the number of students that they have, the participation in the National School Lunch Program numbers. All that goes in the Form 471. USAC will review these applications. It's called the Program Integrity Assurance Process, where USAC wants to confirm that the project is for eligible services at eligible locations, that the school had a fair, open, competitive bidding, and there's lots of back and forth between the USAC reviewer and the school. The time frame for getting that commitment is, first of all, if schools submit their Form 471 early in that 471 window. So if the window opens in January and closes the end of March, for those schools that submit their 471 earlier, towards the, that January or February timeframe, they're more likely to get their applications funded earlier. There are a few other things that will determine that: the size and complexity of the application, the responsiveness of the applicant. If the applicant is providing the bare minimum, then there could be more back and forth. So there could be lots of back and forth, and that determines when these projects will get funded. Per FCC guidelines, all workable applications are supposed to be funded by September 1st. USAC had a board meeting, and for this year, their goal is October 1st because the 471 deadline was extended. And that the workable applications are ones where there's been some back and forth with the school district. The project gets funded, and then there's going to be the service can ensue, and schools can go ahead and start the project, and both the service provider or applicant can get reimbursed. Once there's a funding commitment decision letter and the project starts. Now, again, these new regulations were released in December. There are a few that I want to kind of highlight, and the good news is that school districts will be receiving more money in 2021 and for the next 5 years than they did the previous. They will have $167 per student for the next 5 years, and they will also have more flexibility. And between 2015 and 2020, if a school site had 50 schools, 50 sites at their district, that means they had 50 Category 2 budgets. And school districts were not allowed to shift those funds from one site to another. So you may have had a newer site that didn't need all the E-rate infrastructure dollars, and they may have had an older site that they would have preferred to do more of the infrastructure. And the way the E-rate rules were structured was that these funds could not be shifted from one site to another. And it was unfortunate because literally tens of millions of dollars over the last 5 years really were just wasted because they couldn't be utilized. And the good news is that school districts will be receiving more money per student, plus school districts will have the flexibility to utilize those dollars where they see fit. From a vendor perspective, uh, it is also positive news that again more of these dollars will ultimately be spent. The FCC eliminated the equipment transfer regulations for 2021 going forward. However, if a school purchased equipment in FY 2020, for example, they would not be able to move that equipment in 2021 or 2022. They have to wait for that 3-year cycle, and then they can move that equipment. So the equipment transfer rules are only for equipment that's going to be purchased in FY 2021 or later. The school districts have already started their for their procurement in 2021, starting July 1st. School districts can start their procurement, even though most of the procurement will start in the fall and winter timeframe. And there will be no changes on the Form 470. So school districts there shouldn't be any confusion tied to the Form 470. The FCC also released their draft eligible services list, and there are no substantive changes to the draft eligible services list for 2021, which is disappointing. Many of us have been advocating and cajoling and educating the FCC really for a number of years why network security, for example, should be included in the eligible services list. Um, Now, there are stakeholders and different state groups and education groups that certainly will respond to the FCC and then implore them one last time, please, include network security or management as part of the eligible services list. As of now, I think it's unlikely. If things change, we will certainly let you know. So, why partner with Aruba? I want to talk about our process over the next several slides. You know, I mentioned this just a few minutes ago. Even with all the challenges that 2020 brought, we still did nearly $200 million. We had an increase in our overall awards than in 2019. We literally have thousands of schools in all over the country using the Aruba solutions. We have nearly 20% of the overall market for wireless, and our wire continues to grow in terms of market share each year as well. We have really done a deep data dive over our last couple of years. What works, what doesn't work, what can we improve, and 2021 has the potential to be just a tremendous, really the next several years. So every school district, as I mentioned, is going to have a new Category 2 refresh, where it provides an opportunity for schools to do a rip and replace and get additional networking gear. And our strategy, hopefully working with each one of you, will be to get in front of the Form 470. When we are just reactive to those Form 470s that come out, we still won about $94 million in 2020. I'm sure we'll continue, obviously, to just be responsive to those opportunities. However, when we identify and we work with an Aruba partner to earn the pre-470 deal registration before the Form 470 comes out. So what does that mean? It doesn't mean just making a 30-second phone call to a school and asking if you could bid on the Form 470. It's a lot more than that. It's working with our ecosystem, our CAMs and ICAMs, our territory managers, our K-12 ISRs, and letting them know where your what your sweet spot is, and where is where are our white space accounts, and working to ahead of the Form 470 um, to build a rapport with the school district, to perhaps do have the school do a demo of some of our products where we're more successful, or you're working with a territory manager to drive a central demo to the school district, and you earn this pre-470 deal registration. All of a sudden, our win ratio jumps from about 25% and it jumps to 60%, literally just by earning that pre-470 deal registration, and that's going to be so important for everyone on this call and all of Ingram Micro's partners that focus on E-rate to work with our territory managers and K-12 ISRs. And we're going to talk a little bit more about how to do this. But our success rate literally doubles when that's what our execution just will need to be. And this is what I was talking about, where when we are able to align with a partner ahead of the Phone 470 and drive Aruba brand preference, that's the ultimate goal. Our win ratio is nearly 90%, and that's what we're going to be working with each one of you to do over the next several months. We have different strategies to achieving that. Again, when we just align with a partner ahead of time and they get the pre-470 deal registration, the win ratio jumps from 24 to 60%. And that's whether or not the 470 was ultimately spec for Aruba or is no preference or even a competing brand. We do have something called the orphan list, and send us an email, Mike. The Aruba E-rate contact will be at the end of this presentation, and we will certainly send you the presentation as well. If you let us know that you want to be on the orphan list, then you let us know. And after 10 days, once the Form 470 does come out and we're not able to find a partner, we send it to this list that anyone can respond to, and we will provide the deal registration. And we may not be able to find somebody initially because maybe it's for a competing brand, maybe it's for a smaller opportunity. But even with that, our partners completely stepped up, and in 2020, we got over $5 million. And our demo program, when schools demoed our products that were not Aruba customers, again, our win ratio was nearly 40%. So we have these strategies, we have the data, and we're going to be executing it with each one of you over these next several months. We also have a very detailed process when these Form 470s come out. We have a team in Guadalajara that literally reviews every Category 2 Form 470. They size them up. Is it something can we respond to? Is it for UPSs or cabling? Then no, we're not going to respond to that. Is it for wired or wireless? Absolutely. They'll assign a dollar value. Is it a $100,000 value? Is it a $3 million value? They assign a dollar value to it. They will forward that to our K-12 inside sales teams in Portland, and then works with the territory managers, and we get these to our partners to respond. And between the territory managers and the child account managers and the ICAM team, we're all working with the partner and Ingram to help the partner respond to that Form 470. So we have a very detailed process, which is why we've been so successful. Now, whether or not a partner has been involved in the E-rate program for 1 year or 20 years, really ideally, we would like you to kind of think about your E-rate strategy for 2021. Where are you most successful? What states? Is there a particular zip codes or cities? Or are you looking for the Dallas ISDs of the world, or a school with 10 to 15,000 students, or a particular amount of sites? What is your geography? Kind of think about what your sweet spot is. How many pre-470 deal registrations do you have in 2020? How many more do you want to get in 2021? What was your revenue, for 2020? And let's set a target for 2021, and we'd like to help you earn that revenue target, and engage with our teams, and even with you, on this call, you're beginning that process. Our K-12 ecosystems with our channel account managers and inside channel account managers and territory managers and K-12 ISR teams. If you engage with us, we will be able to help find those opportunities for you ahead of time. So I want to talk about a couple of kind of tools and resources we have. We actually have a new resource for our partners, and it's really getting in front of the Form 470 playbook. That has a series of steps, and strategies and tips and best practices where you can earn that pre-Form 470 deal registration. And really, the very first thing you'll need to do is identify what your sweet spot is, and you'll have conversations with the territory manager and K-12 ISR, identifying those white space accounts. This 4 or 5 page document talks about things to think about. Are you going to be protecting your base, or are you going after a competing with a school district with a competing brand? Depending on your prospect, there are different things to think about. The playbook has follow up that's customized, whether or not the school is a customer or is it a prospect. So it identifies literally 6 steps of things that you can do today to start getting in front of the Form 470. What I would do is reach out to your channel account manager or your ICAM, and ask them for this if you don't already have it, and they can work with you on helping you identify what your strategy is going to be for 2021, and they also can even coordinate the meeting with the K-12 ISR and the territory manager to go through those white space accounts. And we've had a tool called the Roger report, and well, I could not tell you what Roger stands for at this point. We have a list of every school district in the country, what their Category 2 budget is, what manufacturers have they typically gone with, when was the last time they purchased Category 2 equipment. So we can slice it. Are they a white space account? Do we need somebody like you to go in there and talk to that school district? And we can see if a school district has not purchased any Category 2 equipment in the last several years, then we know, hey, 2021, 22, it's going to be a 5 years since the last time that they purchased anything. They're going to be ripe for a network refresh. So the K-12 ISR team, inside sales reps, and the territory managers, they'll walk through the Roger report with you based on where you want to focus and where we have the white space accounts. And then we'll forward you some specific data that's in the Roger report. We had a new tool that we created this past year called Easy Tool. While technically our partners don't have access to it, it's actually an internal Aruba sales tool. I want to make sure you know that this is available, and basically we can see all the various price points based on products for our competing manufacturers, and gives you a lot of other business intelligence. And as you're responding to Form 470s, every Form 470, talk to your K-12 inside sales rep, talk to your territory manager, talk to your CAM, and let them know I want the data from the Easy tool for these particular school districts sent to me before I respond to these Form 470s, and they can easily send that information to you. Ingram Micro and Aruba, we want to be there all year round. We're not just going to be there during the competitive bidding phase, which of course is critically important, but we understand that that half the battle is getting paid and getting paid in a timely manner. And one of the things that Aruba and Ingram Micro have been doing over these last couple of months is, as a school district, as one of your partners receives a funding commitment decision letter, uh, Ingram Micro is going to be sending you a letter, a template that you can you can put your logo on, and the letter is a congratulatory letter to your customer that talks about next steps, things to think about, reminders. You're going to let them know that you're going to file your annual Form 473 that you need to do every year, that their responsibilities are to file their Form 486, and it kind of outlines next steps in this process. And the ultimate goal is to ensure a smooth service and delivery and invoicing phase, and really hopefully speed up that process and maybe formalize that process a little bit. So you should be receiving these templates each time your customer receives a funding commitment decision letter. It'll probably be maybe 72 hours later. Just 2 or 3 days after the school receives a funding commitment decision letter, you'll be receiving that letter. So our solutions really and our performance has been cited by industry from Gartner to Forrester and IDC as upper right hand quadrant leaders in the wired and wireless industry. Now you can see the category two equipment that we have that's eligible. Our access points and central and controllers, and the maintenance, the foundation care, all kind of eligible for category two equipment. Unfortunately, the management and security is not the purchase of Airwave or ClearPass is not eligible for E-rate. But there is another category of E-rate for category two called MIBS, which is a managed internal broadband services solution, where the network management pieces can be eligible, such as Airwave or ClearPass. Our HPE GreenLake for Aruba is eligible under the Category 2 MIBS. And MIBS is actually defined as the services provided by a third party, the operation and management and monitoring of those eligible broadband internal connections are all eligible for these managed Wi-Fi solutions. We do have a MIBS fact sheet. If anyone is interested in getting further detail, send us an email. We can send you additional information about how MIBS works and some things to think about. If your customer is looking at a wireless controller solution, this really is the most cost-effective and efficient way. Plus, they are 100% eligible and does include the first year of support. The Airwave Network Management Bundle is actually not E-rate eligible, but it is heavily discounted. We also have a central promotion, which is a 5-year central management. And we do have an aggressive price. I want to turn for a just a couple of minutes on. So we just kind of talked about the E-rate and our process, and that's really building pipeline for next year. Completely critical to start that process today. If you haven't already done so, reach out to our CAMs, the ICAMs, to Ingram Micro, to K12 ISRs, and start working these white space accounts today. Um, However, there is some short-term opportunities. About 3 months ago, at this point, Congress passed the CARES Act, which was one of the stimulus packages, about $2 trillion worth of stimulus package, and about 30 billion of that was tied to education, and 13.5 was tied for really K-12. Um, and our message really to IT directors has been as simple as possible. Is that every business unit at a school district is going to have their hand out for these dollars. That the dollars are going to flow through Title One. So it's really important that IT directors are an advocate for these dollars. And what I mean by that is that they need to talk with their Title One coordinators that they need these dollars for mobile hotspots. They need them for devices. They need them for security. They need to be talking to the Title One coordinators. But these dollars are also very high profile, and they need to talk with their superintendent and school board as well. And school districts can utilize this CARES Act funding for almost anything COVID-19 related. So they have all sorts of flexibility. The Each of the state Department of Education, they've created a sub grant process for each of the LEAs or local education agencies to then apply. Some states have gone through this process already. Some states, literally just this week, um, are beginning that application process for their schools. School districts really have until the September 2021 before these dollars need to be spent. But these dollars, of course, will be obligated, in the near future. But this is something that you definitely need to think about. Network security. So you know, you know, the, as I mentioned, this is continues to be top of mind from CIOs and technology directors. Every year there's a K-12 cybersecurity resource center, and just as of May, they're reporting that there are these cyber incidents, literally every couple of days. The FBI, since March, they've actually issued two private industry notifications to school districts, warning them that there's additional incidents of cybersecurity attacks and ransomware. And it's incredibly unfortunate with more kids online. There's an increased risk of child exploitation, and again, network security is such a critical component of any IT network. And of course, ClearPass would be an Aruba solution that you can encourage school districts to think about. And we've seen that school districts have utilized CARES to purchase um, ClearPass. Contact tracing, is another entree that you can, in terms of starting conversations with school districts. Every state Department of Education has released, guidelines how schools can open up safely, and literally every state has either required or recommended that school districts have some semblance of a contact tracing policies and procedures in place to alert local health officials. Now they don't talk about technology per se, but if a school district has the Aruba architecture already, they have the access points and central, or airwave. There's just an additional software that's free that could go into that, where we can track and where these cell phones are going in a particular building, and whether or not if an educator, for example, is has COVID, where they've been, where do you need to disinfect the building a little bit more. What other cell phones have they been in contact with? So even if a school district doesn't ultimately go with use the Aruba architecture for contact tracing, it's still a really good entree, to have that to begin to have a conversation with school districts. How are you going to open up safely, and then you can have a natural conversation to what they plan on doing for E-rate in the fall. We also have tools for digital equity, and sort of solving the homework gap or digital divide. We have these remote access points that school districts can purchase, and we can turn them into mobile hotspot by working with telco or an ISP. And really, there's several advantages to getting, these, wrap solution. One, they're safe and secure. and a lot easier to manage than when a school district purchases, off the shelf mobile hotspot, and they need to get a few thousand for their school districts, for their students or families. There is no central way for an IT director to manage all those particular mobile hotspots. And our RAP solution is a solution that's beginning to take hold. Again, we have additional information about our reps that you can reach out to us, and we can provide additional information of how school districts can take advantage of the solution. Of course, the K-12 ISRs, we have 7, and you can see the different geographies that they focus in and their contact information. Um, and with that, be happy to take any questions, Michael, if there are any.
Yeah, we did get some questions, and one of the first ones that came in was, when will the annual compliance training be ready?
Great question. Any day now. We will work with Ingram Micro to inform everyone when that test is ready. We're very close in getting that launched. Really, in the next couple of days, hopefully the next week tops, and we'll let you know. Thank you for that question.
Okay. I saw a hand go up from Scott Roth. Scott, do you want to go on the audio and ask your question?
Yeah, relative to the wrap for the cellular connection that would be, associated with that. This is provided this is somebody that's rural, doesn't have broadband, so they're trying to leverage, that cellular connection. Uh, who's paying for that? Are you finding that schools are flipping the bills on those data lines and those things, or is there a discount from the the carrier?
Right, and well, actually, the CARES funds, the stimulus package, actually is one of the resources that school districts have turned to, quite honestly, to pay for that. Now, there are some. The FCC did relax the E-rate gift regulations. I apologize for not mentioning that earlier, where they recognize that technology companies, carriers are in a unique position to offer donations and things and technologies to school districts um, to solve some of these issues. And technology and industry has stepped up and provided free access and donations, and certainly Aruba has done that as well. But all that's been a band-aid. It's not hasn't been anything permanent. And the CARES funding is something that school districts have utilized specifically for those purposes. Good question.
Okay, thank you, Scott and Peter. Julie McNelly, please feel free to ask your question. Are you able to come off mute, Julie?
Yeah.
Oh, there you are.
It was already answered. I was going to ask the same question about when we can take that training.
Okay.
So soon, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very soon. Great
I
question.
want to make sure I get that done. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Peter, we've got a couple more that have come in. One is, we are hearing the FCC and USAC are spending more resources auditing service providers. Do you have any advice on how to best handle audits that might come our way?
Yes, I do. The school districts are audited more frequently than service providers, but a couple of years ago, the FCC kind of doubled down on audits and documentation. And not only are school districts now required to retain their documentation, really from 5 years to 10 years, all service providers are required to retain documentation. That's invoices and billing logs and correspondence and forms, anything tied to E-rate in any way. All of your winning bids. If you don't need to save losing bids, but anything tied to E-rate that you win, it is imperative that you're able to retain that documentation. If you at a minimum for 10 years based on last date of service. We've actually seen, it's unfortunate, but the USAC and the FCC, they have gone back, 7, 8, 9, 10 years during these audits. And if a service provider is not able to provide that documentation, then they may actually be asked, depending on what maybe the violation may be, if there is one, or what the USAC is trying to ascertain. The USAC actually has asked school districts, and service providers to give money back well after the fact. It's called the COMAD. So, my recommendation is to hold on to all E-rate related documentation for a 10-year period based on last date of service. So basically, it's going to be like at least a 12-year period where you're going to be holding on to this documentation for.
Okay, thank you, Peter. That's very helpful and very thorough. Another question. Do you have any insights into whether there will be a dedicated distance learning connectivity fund that will be passed in Congress with the next round of stimulus?
Yes. So Aruba, we've been working very closely with our government affairs team, really the last 3 months on this. And we worked with key members of the House, key members of the Senate, and we've actually had some success where the House of Representatives, they passed their HEROES legislation just a couple of weeks ago. That's the next version of the stimulus package, and they actually have $5 billion dedicated for distance learning. They have other legislative vehicles such as broadband or infrastructure legislation that also includes a distance learning connectivity fund, which is really good news. The Senate Republicans, they actually have released their next version of the stimulus package, and while at the moment the Senate and the House seem to be far apart, I think it is safe to assume that they will put politics aside and negotiate. The Senate Republicans literally have $105 billion dedicated for K-12. Now, school districts will have a lot of flexibility on, if they had their preference, where it would go through the same way the CARES did, through the U.S. Department of Education, through Title I, and the schools will have all sorts of flexibility. So between the Democrats have $5 billion dedicated for distance learning. In their package, they have tens of billions of dollars for state and local localities, which will include education. And the Republicans that have over $100 million for K-12. That there's some help coming down the pike for K-12. I think we all wish that it would have been passed a little sooner, but I think it'll be welcome nonetheless when Congress is able to do that.
Okay, I know we're getting close to time, but we have one more question here, Peter, if you're up for it. Does a service provider get to choose whether or not the customer will go through the BEAR or SPI payment process?
So there are two ways that stakeholders at schools or service providers could get paid. Oftentimes with a large infrastructure project, the school may not be able to afford the entire project. So what they will do is they'll ask the service provider, they may be the 80% school, the service provider will invoice the applicant 20%, and the applicant has 90 days to pay the service provider. And at the same time, then the service provider invoice, which is the Form 474 method, will invoice USAC. Or what's preferable for the service provider is that if a school has enough funding, they can pay you 100%, and then the school will get reimbursed, and that's known as the BEAR process. There actually are some real advantages if a school is able to go through the BEAR process for them, because the dollars that they get back from the reimbursement, they can spend on anything. on devices, on pencils. So it's technology directors are able to recoup those dollars for additional technology investment. But the bottom line is that typically it's negotiated in the contract, but ultimately the school will have the ultimate say how they want to do it.
Okay, we did get another question, and I know I know we're coming up to time, but guys, if you guys need to drop off, that's fine. Thank you. We will be providing follow-up information to everybody that has attended. But Scott, it looks like you had another question, and if you're still on the line, please feel free to ask. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. So, I'm trying to draw the tie-in from distance learning and those key points, and things are getting administrators' attention with E-rate, because you're talking about internal connections and the things inside of the building. I guess, where are the synergies with distance learning, and do you have any literature to that effect? Make sure, even though you're distance learning, make sure you've got good Wi-Fi because your teachers are broadcasting video out from the classroom. I guess I'm just looking for those kinds of things, and it doesn't have to necessarily continue on this call.
So we do have all sorts of collateral tied to Aruba K-12 technology, whether on campus or off campus. If anyone is interested in our collateral, just email us at erate@hpe.com, and we will send you the information that we have, exactly those exact issues. What technologies exist to help with particular solutions. We have white papers. We have information specifically about our wraps. So we're happy to send you. We have business continuity battle cards specifically for K-12. So we have all that information. If you email us at erate@hpe.com and just ask us for some of this collateral, we're happy to send it to you.
Okay, thank you to both Scott and Peter. It looks like the end of the questions. I will assure everybody on the line and anybody who joined that we will be sending up follow-up information to you and also provide you access to the recording of this presentation. Peter, as always, thank you for the incredible amount of information you have and the excellent way you present it. If there's any other questions direct towards Ingram Micro or anything that we can do to help, please send them to me, Michael Herb, at ingrammicro.com. And once again, thank you all for attending, and we'll be in touch. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Thank you.